love seeing John. John's working, he's grinding, he sees the fellas. Man goes out of his way to come hang out with us. All right, we're with the fans. I mean, we're below John's level, and he comes out with the media pass, sits right down with us, like, what's up, fellas? He's hanging out with us. We're talking ball. So let's get John in so we can talk more ball and get his perspective on what's been going on with training camp. So please welcome to the show, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated own and host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, which link will be in the description, by the way. Go read John's stuff for all your news. Please welcome Mr. John Maakaron. John?
Fellas, football's back. I'm excited. I can't even contain myself. I'm drinking two things. I'm going to drink this and this today. Real American beer.
Go.
Nice. I froze them. Let's go,
Double
boys.
fisting.
Football is back. Yes. No.
Doc.
Well, I'm happy. Hey, Doc, you deserve it. You've been working hard.
Yeah.
We'll be out there tomorrow, so you'll be out there. So we'll see you then. I want to start off. Can I ask you this? And we just talked about it. Can I get more of your opinion on the Matty Betts, storyline and how it's been going and where you think it'll end up? Like, what's the end result to you, John, with Matty Betts? How do you see this thing playing out, in your opinion?
Yeah, no doubt, fellas. First and foremost, no way I would ever consider you guys lower than my level. I'm a man of the people. And so I wanted to sit in the stands with the guys and talk to you guys and everything like that. So never, ever, I wanted to see the vantage point of how the fans would experience it. So I never, ever would ever thumb my nose at anybody. I respect everybody that gets out there and tries to. And you guys came out on the worst day, the days where they're just kind of lollygagging around. Just gotta go
back tomorrow, Doc.
But it's all good. I always enjoy an opportunity to talk to you boys and see what you're thinking about. Yeah, Matthew Betts, you guys heard the comments. Man, look, that's where it's just tough making the jump from the CFL to the NFL, is that the speed level, the competition is just so great. And so the Lions saw something. The coaching staff felt like, hey, let's see him at the Sam linebacker spot. Let's see. We like what he can do in coverage. He's got these techniques they wanted to see. But then as they installed the scheme, he started playing slower. And that's just quite a bit challenging. And that's what they probably expected to happen. So what Dan Campbell said was, hey, let's back off, kind of having him do so many different things. Let's get him more confident doing what he's used to. And he told me that, he's used to playing on the edge and rushing the quarterback. And so for Matthew Betts, look, it's challenging right now because you got a couple other guys that are playing better than him at this moment. When I had asked Dan Campbell at the presser, hey, tell me about Broderick Martin, he talked a little bit about Kyle Peko. You've seen Levi Onwuzurike take a step forward. And you look at Matthew Betts, look, now he's got an opportunity to kind of just focus on your job. And that's where the NFL can get a little bit difficult. Some coaches want players to learn multiple different spots and see what they can do. But Dan Campbell gave clues. He said that, hey, in terms of playability, you got to always kind of think who is going to make this roster and then be active. So for Betts, it's an uphill climb. I think for a couple players on this roster, the preseason is going to determine their fate. And for Matthew Betts, he's got to show out, make plays, be consistent, win the battles. And I think for him, the games against the Giants, Chiefs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be integral for him. He's got skills. Clearly, when you got the skill to get 18 sacks, he's made plays. I think that he's got the confidence. But when you start thinking too much, it slows you down. So he's got to just gain his confidence, listen to what the coaching staff tells him, let his natural talent come out, and then he's got a chance. But as of now, to give you a sneak peek, I think our first depth chart update coming out the 1st of August, probably not going to have Matthew Betts making it, I would presume, as of now.
Ooh, hey.
He's got more to prove.
So is the first update tomorrow? That's the 1st of August. It comes out tomorrow?
No. What we do is something that people like is, okay, it's been 7 days of camp. We've seen a lot of practices. So different sites will do either 53-man projections or they'll update their current depth chart. We started one before training camp. Now we're going to update ours at Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated.
Love that.
And it'll give a sense of like, okay, who's playing well, who's not, who needs to do more work. So I think that's coming down the road on August 1st tomorrow.
Love that. I want to just ask this question real quick because we've already had the conversation earlier in the show, and like I'm on the side here, so it's the Levi Onwuzurike situation going on at camp right now. I'm on the side towards, hey, I think Levi Onwuzurike is going to be a big part of this rotation now. He's obviously showed it in minicamp and OTAs, and now you're looking at training camp. You're over a weekend, and the Dan Campbell comments today and everything with that. And I know there are some people in the chat, and obviously Klotz, we had the conversation to where, hey, some people still want to see it a little bit, and they want to see it in a game action. Where are you at with that? And just for you, you've seen him in pads, you've seen him out there playing. Where do you stand on the Levi Onwuzurike thing? Is it the real deal, and is it actual? This man's going to be in the rotation and making plays.
Yeah, it's such a great story. I remember when he was drafted. Draft night is always great. You get to see the players on Zoom, and he started to represent what the new culture was about. He gets there, we see him on Zoom. He's talking to the media, and the first thing he says is, I love playing defensive lineman. I love my position because I get to fuck shit up. And that's what he said to the reporter. He's like, I'm coming in to cause damage. And it stunk because then he couldn't live up to the billing because of injuries, multiple surgeries, back situation can never really bode well for the early part of his career. And many people thought that maybe he was trending toward being a bust. But now he's carrying a good weight. His back is in order. He's healthy. So now you're starting to see the player that the Detroit Lions saw several years ago. And if he pans out, that just is really indicative of a Detroit Lions scouting department that doesn't have a lot of busts. That's amazing. It would be spectacular when you have another option at defensive line. He looks more fluid. He's been in the backfield nonstop. When you look at your notebook, you clearly have certain numbers you're writing down quite a bit. Clearly number 9, you're writing a lot, 14, 87, but 91 has been written in my notebook so much. I'm excited to see what he can do. And yes, it's for real if he can stay healthy. Now, all you can say is he's got the right mindset. I kind of think maybe he's read our stuff where maybe early on in the preseason, I think I have to believe, I know I wrote it, where maybe he was on the early lists of surprise people that could get cut. So we've tried to talk to him. He won't talk to the media, but he said something to me in passing, politely, very nicely. Some guys will just walk off. Some guys will just say, I'm not talking until I'm forced to. He just said, guys, I'm not talking right now. I'm locked in. And that's what he told me. He's like, I'm not talking to anybody until I'm needed to, but I'm locked in right now. He's loving going to work, making plays, and he's making himself known. So for him, he's got the talent clearly. He's got the physical size. He's got brute strength. He can get to the quarterback. I think that he can make plays. For him, it's going to be all predicated on staying healthy. If he stays healthy, that takes away the concern level for having John Kaminsky gone. You plug in Levi Onwuzurike, you got him next to Aiden Hutchinson, you can cause some damage. You can move him around, and he can do some things. He's ready to do what the Lions are asking of him. Let's just hope that he can stay healthy. It'll be a great thing for this defensive line.
Let's go.
And Doc, something that I don't think is a major storyline by any means, but just something that if you heard after practice, if anything was significant to come out of it, at least running with the ones, Booner kind of spoke on it earlier. Not a lot of Iffy Melifonwu. It was a lot of Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. Was there a specific reason for that, or what was going on with Iffy today?
Look, it's tough. I know you guys were definitely paying attention to like who's playing where at different spots. But guys, look, here's kind of how when you're there day in and day out, this is what tends to happen is different guys are going to rep with 1s and 2s because different situations are going to happen. So who comes back from a situation in which he's been dealing with an offseason injury is Brian Branch. So they want to see at different spots, okay, what does Brian Branch look like kind of playing with Kirby Joseph? What's he going to look like playing with Ifeatu Melifonwu? So look, Iffy is a guy that probably is the first candidate most people will think is going to play a little bit less, but he's going to play quite a bit due to the fact that he's got a lot of size. He can blitz. He can do a lot of different things. The Lions just love the potential of Brian Branch being impactful at safety. It just opens up a lot of things. And you probably are going to, at different times, look, you've seen, when you're out there, you're going to see sometimes Fountain working with the 1s. You'll see him working with the 2s. Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld rotate back and forth. Yeah, there's certain things to pay attention to in terms of consistency, like if he's playing a lot of reps with the 2s, but he's got his fair share of reps with the 1s. And look, Ifeatu Melifonwu, I think, is a stellar player. I think that he embodies everything that the Lions want. He's a good player. Now, can he have as much impact as Brian Branch? I don't know, but I'll say this. I think that when I talked to Kirby Joseph after practice yesterday, I said, look, what's it like playing with Branch and Iffy and having this opportunity to play with these three guys, to play with the safety group? And he said, look, it just gives gives Aaron Glenn more options to deploy different players at different times against different opponents. And so when you have opportunities to match up, the Lions love to run matchups based on who they're playing. And there's going to be times where if Fatu Melifonwu is the guy they want to bring up to potentially blitz, there'll be times where Brian Branch is the guy that they need out there to be consistently stopping the middle. Kirby Joseph is just always around the football. Look, you got three great safeties, and I think you don't have to worry too much about those three guys other than making sure they stay healthy. If Fatu Melifonwu was talented, I think he's going to be part of this future for a minute.
In John, another big storyline, Jameson Williams, and you've been at Lions training camp over the last couple of years. I mean, since well before JMO got there, but what has been the biggest improvement to you with JMO? I think for me, John, the route running, his ability to just get open, be more than just a speedster. I mean, we know how talented he is, how, what he's gifted with athletically, but what has stood out to you with JMO and kind of him being more and more poised to not only take the next step, but be someone that they can depend on, not just for big plays, but for everything, John? What has been some of the things that stood out to you from last year to this year?
Yeah, no doubt. What a difference another year makes in someone's life. He turned 23. He recognized, okay, the first 2 years of my career haven't gone exactly as planned. People are talking about me in a negative light, and he didn't reach his potential. This is a first-round draft choice with a lot of talent, God-given talent to run and get open and to play the wide receiver spot, to play the National Football League. But once you get there, it's one thing to get drafted. It's another thing to put in the work and stay at that level and exceed. And so for Jameson Williams, the first couple years, look, Ben Johnson's offense is no joke. It requires a lot of thinking, a lot of work, a lot of due diligence. And what has, clearly changed in Jameson Williams? Maturity. He has matured. He recognized, okay, I got to focus in on my craft. I got to get into this playbook. I got to listen to the coaching staff, get stronger. And he clearly sees, okay, the organization was willing not to match the contract offer that the Broncos made to Josh Reynolds. And they said, Dan Campbell dangled the carrot. He said, we believe that this year, Jameson Williams can be the number 2 wideout in this offense. And so he went to work. He's running routes so much crisper. And really, in the end, it comes to experience, maturity and experience. He understands where he needs to be. And in a timing offense, if you're exactly where he needs to be, guess what? Jared Goff's going to pull the trigger and throw the football to you. And he's open, he's competitive, and he's somebody that is ultra, ultra competitive and wants to prove that, hey, the talk has been all about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I want some talk about myself. I'm a wide receiver, and I want to contribute. I want to be great. I want to be he said it into the microphone now multiple times. He wants to be considered one of the greats to play the game. And at that level, I think that when you start to put in the work and your talent meets the work you put in, man, the sky's the limit. It's been great to see, right? Targets, not dropping the football, being part of this offense, being part of the mix. And I think that when you mature and you kind of put it all together, remember, he's only 23 years old. So, and sometimes I have to remember that too, in that these guys are young. It's a whole new thing when you're given $19 million to sign your name. You know what I mean? The first thing I would do is, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, maybe go downtown, have a couple parties, celebrate with the fellas, have some real American beers. But once you realize, wait a minute, the people are talking bad about me. They're not liking what I'm doing, and you're not being part of the offense, and you're away, and you make some rookie mistakes. Now you got to be like, wait a minute. This thing can be taken away just that quick. And he just put it all together. And I'm excited to see it. I get out there every day, and I'm excited to see what he can do on Thursday when the Pats, because look, this offense has been not that great outside of Jameson and Amon-Ra collectively. So I want to see them get back to it and put some good plays on tape, because the defense has been shining so far the first couple of days with pads.
Hey, Doc, just to kind of expand on that question, then I feel like one of the bigger battles going on in camp, and I actually saw you on SI write about a little bit about it. Obviously, the wide receiver kind of 4 situation there going on. Dries Fountain, DPJ, and I think Antoine Green is kind of in the mix there. It looked like just out there getting some reps in as well. What is your kind of viewpoint on what's been going on in that room? Who do you think's kind of in the kind of lead spot there and has the best chance of taking that spot? Or maybe two of those guys end up making the roster when it comes to special teams and things like that. What is kind of viewpoint on that?
Yeah, it's been crazy. The wide receiver battle, it kind of ebbs and flows. But the guy that's been, making plays, two guys really that have been consistent have been Doris Fountain and Caden Davis. 88, it just makes plays. He made a beautiful reception in a situational drill on Tuesday. It was just a dart from Nate Sudfeld. It was under 30 seconds, and Sudfeld had really only a couple plays to get into the end zone. He throws a dart to Caden Davis, and the guy's always making a play or two here or there. And I had asked Dan Campbell in the media session, what are your thoughts on what Isaiah Williams needs to do to make the team? And he's like, look, he talks to the players that are lower on the depth chart, and he says, look, it's not about making flash plays. It's about knowing where you need to be consistently every single day. Well, every single day you look up and you're writing number 12 out there, size, speed, experience. I think he's kind of putting it together. He's making a lot of noise. And I think in our latest observations, we've put Antoine Green needs to do a little bit more. I think that, for the talent that he's got, we're not writing his number down in the books too much. Yeah, he's getting reps, but he's not making plays at the level that you would think at this point, second year in. I think number 12 has made a lot of plays. You see his name up there that he's getting targeted. He got reps today and walked through with the ones a little bit more. He's been given the opportunity, and he bounced back because, on I think the first day of padded practice wasn't the best, but he rebounded the last couple of days and has looked a little bit more proficient when he's had the chance. So to me, pay attention to Doris Fountain and Caden Davis. And I think that DPJ and Antoine Green got to show a lot more in the preseason. In practice so far, you see them situationally, but they're not popping as much as 12 and 88.
That's definitely interesting to hear. Another competition that I'm interested to see, and I don't think it's so much because it's you're concerned about it, but I think the best man that wins it, you're going to be very confident in. And with pads being on this week, you really got to see Ennis Rakestraw show what he can do, because he's a player when you can hit, that's what he's all about. So that's the strength of his game. When you look at the surgeons of what he could be, how likely do you think it is that he's going to be starting early on compared to a guy like Emmanuel Mosley, who hits just like Ennis Rakestraw, or a guy like Amik Robinson, who's very good at pass coverage and can also help in the run? Who do you think is going to be starting week one, and how early do you think it is until we see Ennis Rakestraw?
No doubt, right? You guys saw Ennis Rakestraw balled out the second day of pads on Tuesday, man. He picked off Hendon Hooker. He has just been somebody that stood out significantly. And, you could almost make the case that he's right on par with Terrion Arnold in terms of ability and what he's been doing. Like, he's making impactful plays. Now, clearly Terrion's up against, J-Mo and Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be out there against the best of the best on the Lions. But Ennis, in his opportunities that he's gotten out there, against Green and against DPJ and working with the twos at times, you see a physical player. He plays bigger than his stature indicates. So with Ennis, it's going to be great to see him flourish. He's a guy that makes plays. I think that he's taken offense to the fact that he dropped in the draft. Do I see him as a starter? I think there's opportunities. Now, look, when we look at football, it's kind of like one of those things where, okay, if Jahmyr Gibbs gets the first series, David Montgomery's still going to think. What you want to really pay attention to is playing time percentage. And it's not going to matter if Ennis Rakestraw is in the second series or not. He's going to play a lot this year. I think they're going to try him at the nickel spot because he can be physical. He can do things. I think there's going to be situations against certain opponents. Well, he'll get a plethora of opportunities on the outside. I think he plays more than 50% of defensive snaps early on, maybe even by week 3 or 4. The man pops. And when I spoke to Kirby Joseph after practice, I said, man, these young guys, they're coming out here working hard. He said, yeah, when the pads are on, Ennis is a dog. And certain guys, when the lights are on, they show out. And Ennis Rakestraw, I think clearly I can say into the microphone, he's underrated. I think we should talk about him a lot more. He made plays. He's impactful. He's physical. He wants to be somebody that plays at a high level. The key for him, like a lot of guys, is can he stay healthy? And I think he dropped because of the pre-draft medical stuff and things like that. But you got to remember, if Brad Holmes does evaluation on you, he didn't draft cornerbacks the first couple of years. It became an area of need. He targeted Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, and that could be the single greatest lucky factor that the Detroit Lions probably have is that they could anchor, some veterans with some young cats, and that just can only bode well. It just excites me to talk about the secondary because I love watching the defense, and to see Ennis Rakestraw make plays. That just is only going to push Terrion Arnold. And he, you kind of got, I didn't say he was jealous, but he said, hey, they said, and a reporter asked Terrion, when are your picks going to come? He's like, soon, but they come in bunches. So he's starting to feel the talk a little bit about Ennis, but they're boys. And boy, I love the fact they drafted 2 young cornerbacks that can push each other. I think Terrion and Ennis can anchor this secondary for many years to come. Get excited, guys. They're doing some things. And look, he's going to have some rookie struggles, but Ennis Rakestraw right now, he's doing his thing, and he's getting his name written down in a lot of notebooks.
Yeah, and real quick, just going off that, Doc, we were having the conversation yesterday about how you have Ennis Rakestraw, Terrion Arnold, and you also have a second-year player in Brian Branch right behind him. So this secondary, just to what you said, for a long time is going to be in a good spot.
Can I just real quick, Doc? I just want to follow up with Klotzy's question. Just I mentioned the other day that it feels like the conversation with Rakestraw is like you can't keep him off the field, and that was a conversation with Branch last year. Where like it was as training camp went on, and you were at the training camps this year and last year, and it felt like Branch started off really well, and then it just gradually like turned it into this guy cannot come off the field. Is it the same feeling? And obviously the skill level may be a little different, as Branches can be one of the best in the entire NFL at his position. But does it still feel like that with Rakestraw this year? We're like, hey, he keeps getting better and better. Pads go on better. Days go on. He keeps getting better. Is that feeling going around kind of like the Brian Branch thing last year?
Yeah, exactly. Great observation. I could see Ennis Rakestraw starting at nickel, but I think the competition is going to be great with Amik Robertson. So it'll be very much an interesting battle to see throughout the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited to see with Carlton, with Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw. You said it. The guy makes plays. And if he continues to evolve and get better, man, when his confidence grows, I think getting the first interception with pads on, it just, everyone's talking to him. Everyone's believing what he can do. And look, guys, he played in the SEC. Look, the guy did some things. He was a guy that actually played on the outside, did some things against some elite competition. And I just love the opportunity that this football team has to kind of have that secondary play at a high level. Because just imagine, you got a defensive line that's expected to be violent. The linebackers are gelling, and you got 3 safeties that all can ball. The only question mark is, can Carlton Davis, Rakestraw, and Arnold really, along with Mosley, can they gel and find the right mix and play at a high level? If they can, look out. Then maybe this defense can get into the top 10. And you guys are talking about too. There's guys in the back on the second and third team making plays. Gilmore and Norris making plays. They're around the ball. So this is good to see that this team has some depth in the secondary.
Yeah,
Maurice Norris, not Morris Norris. Maurice.
Booner called him Morris Norris when they first signed him to the team.
Great name, all-time name.
Yeah, it would be. Doc, I'll ask you to stay on that nickel spot. Emmanuel Mosley's been an interesting storyline. We know what he was before the injuries, and I think with today's medicine, you can never count a guy out even after ACL injuries. But it's tough with both knees. What have you seen from Emmanuel Mosley? He's in that battle, in that nickel battle. Kind of your confidence level in just him not only making an impact this year, but maybe even surprising a lot of people. What have you seen from Emmanuel Mosley?
Yeah, look. A feel-good story. Like when you see him get emotional, the work that he did, you never want somebody to have 2 significant injuries. You know how much rehab that is? But the good thing is that when you got a guy that has been through it before, the second go around, you already know what to do. So mentally, I thought that, and I've said this before on this show, last year he could have mailed it in, stayed at home, did things, to be away from the team, but he was back there before the playoffs. He was around the coaches, always in Aaron Glenn's ear. Is a guy that wanted to be here, and he was a guy that put in the work. And if he can stay healthy, look, he's a big physical press man corner. He can do some things. He can provide opportunities to play on the outside. He can play nickel. They're trying him there now because of his big physical nature, and he can match up against some bigger guys that kind of get into the slot in certain packages. But I love what I'm seeing so far. I think that he's a guy that has a lot to prove, wants to be a leader, but I think now has come to terms with, hey, I want to have fun. Every opportunity that I can practice and stay healthy is a blessing. and he's got a great infectious personality, and he's easy to talk to. I think that when you see the skill set, man, guys that can play press man corner and be physical, that can be agile. Look, he believes that he can get back to the level that he was with San Francisco. Just go put on the tape. He was doing some things. He was physical, he was popping the ball loose, he was around the football. And if he can stay healthy, that's just another weapon that can do some things. And that's just a great option to have. It's a great story. And I think that there's opportunities for this player who's hungry. That's the best part, is that he's come to terms with, okay, had my setbacks, football could have been taken away from me, but now I'm hungry to get on the field and reward the Lions for taking another chance on a player with 2 significant injuries. If he can show out, if he can be somebody that in situations, in certain matchups that you can put on bigger receivers, that's just going to help Ennis and Amik Robertson, who's, not as big as a guy of Emmanuel Mosley's stature. And I think that you're going to like it too, because he's a physical player. And I think that this guy, he's hungry. And when you got a hungry player looking to prove some things, that's when you can get the magic. And I think that if he can just stay healthy, I think he's going to play all over that secondary and play well. I think you're going to see some impact plays later on in the year.
All right, Doc, let's stay with the defense here real quick. Defense as a whole. We've asked you this question. Well, not this question specifically, but we've had a good conversation with you a month or so ago about, can this defense be top 15? Can it be top 10? What is the highest and the peak that this defense can go? We're in training camp, and Dan Campbell, I think it was today or at some point, he talked about how he was talking with AG and said, hey, this defense is like, we're feeling it right now. This is a defense, and this thing's legit. Are you feeling that through probably 8 days of camp now, 7 days of camp? Is it like, hey, this could actually be a top 10 defense, if not better, especially if this D line gets together? And it feels like Terrell Williams has these guys absolutely just playing at their best as well, and he's just gotten with them for the last couple months. Do you feel like that with this defense? Like, yep, this is going to be a top 10 defense, or they have a very, very high ceiling?
Yeah, no doubt. First and foremost, real fast, I do want to give a review of this for your audience, okay? Because I've drinking a lot of them. I have one in my office. I have a case here. And look, I don't want to get political. I just was giving an honest review. And I bought it, and I said, you know what? Chill it, get it nice and cold. For a light beer, this is better than Bud Light. Now, it kind of has a taste of like Labatt's, but I know that people are like, oh, light beers for punks and shit like that. But I'm going to tell you, after a hard day's work, talking to you fellas, grinding in the heat, this real American beer goes down well. And then you chase it with Corona. I think this is the greatest interview I think I'm going to give you guys. This is great. Listen, if you put aside personal matters, give it a try. Come back, tell me if I'm full of shit or whatever. Put the politics aside. The beer's good. It goes down well when it's cold. And they're going down well for the DOC. I love it. So for the DOC.
I love beer, Doc, so I'll try any beer. I'm a beer guy.
Try it. It's available in the greatest county in Michigan, Macomb County, because obviously, clearly, the representation of that county. But Macomb County is great. You can get it there. It's $20 and 12 cans. Enjoy it. Ice it up and enjoy it, man. You can throw them down. They're pretty easy. It tastes pretty good. Now, I love defense. You're talking to the right guy. I grew up loving the Bears defense, Baltimore defense, great defenses, clamoring. I grew up with Spielman. I grew up with one of the greatest linebackers that I got to see was Chris Spielman, and the way in which he attacked the game and the manner in which he wanted to destroy people. And man, I love, that's why you can see a lot of my photos are with the defensive players. That's why I get in trouble, because I'm so hard on them. Like, hey, step it up. I've wanted to see a good Lions defense for so long. I almost got into a fight with Alex Anzalone because of my trash talking with Derek Barnes. Like, step it up, make the plays.
I like your odds in that situation, Doc.
I stood my ground. Listen,
the odds were minus 500.
I stood my ground, and he understood my point. I think we have a newfound respect that I wasn't trolling. I was saying, hey, it was coming from a good place. And I think that this defense can be top 10. When you got the swagger, the pieces are in place. We haven't even talked about DJ Reader and Marcus Davenport. Listen, I don't know why when I'm talking to these guys, they start like for the past, and I think others have maybe gotten this kind of rhetoric, but they love when I go up to them, they love to tell me how violent they want to be. They love, like from Kirby Joseph's rookie year, I've been writing headlines of how violent this defense is. Aleem McNeil, how violent they want to be. Broderick Martin tells me today, everyone's wanted to talk to him. So I go up to him and talk to him. Hey, what do you want this defensive line to be about? He's like, I want this defensive line to be the nastiest, most aggressive motherfuckers out there in the world. And I'm sitting there going, man, this is great. I love this kind of stuff. Because Aaron Glenn has been open to the point of saying, I want this to be a nasty, hard-hitting, you're going to get punked defense. And he hasn't had the weapons yet to deploy that. Now, when you got 3 linebackers that all can hit, you got a defensive line. Aleem McNeil called Marcus Davenport a silent killer when I asked him. I don't know, maybe I give off the vibe of aggression or something. Like when I ask these questions, they just start getting aggressive. Like they're just like, Marcus Davenport wants to rip people's faces off. And he's got the nose ring. And the best part of Marcus Davenport is he was walking off the field today. And I said, hey, off the record, I'm John Maakaron with Sports Illustrated. I'm looking forward to having some conversations with you this year. He just smiles, nods his head, and walks off. And silent killer, like he's going to be like somebody you can just crack a joke with, but when he's on the field, wants to rip your face off. And that's what I want to see. I want to see, led by Aiden Hutchinson, I want to see this defensive line destroy quarterbacks, starting with Matthew Stafford. Hit list. Stafford's first on that hit list, and they're out for blood. And I think this defense has a lot to prove. They've heard a lot of talk about the offense and Goff and St. Brown and Laporta, and they've heard all the national media talk about how great this offense is. I think the defense is looking at it like, wait a minute, we can go out here and punk people. And they punked Hendon Hooker. They punked Jared Goff on Tuesday. It was a full-on defensive performance that was great. And so for me, I would love to see it. I've been clamoring for that. I would love to win defensive battles. I'd love to have a team that can intercept the ball, sack the quarterback, and win games 20-10. That would be fabulous. Guys, listen, I'll say this. Now, this is crazy talk. Now, this is beer talk, okay? This is clearly beer talk, okay? But nobody in their right mind is going to say this on the air, but I'll say it. If this defense, okay, let's just say it this way. This is beer influence, guys. Premise. This is beer influenced. if Detroit Lions defense is top 5, okay?
Hold up.
Could you see them not losing a game all year?
Whoa.
Think about that. If the defense sacks the quarterback, pressures Terrion Ennis, everybody stays healthy, Aiden, Marcus, DJ Reader, fuck it. Why can't they go undefeated? Why not have the ultimate craziest Miami Dolphins season ever? Now, of course, that's not likely, but think about it. From the perspective of a defense, if the defense can match how great the offense is at some point, maybe not this year, maybe in the next year or two as Brad Holmes gets more talent, think about what you got in terms of the youth on this team. Jack Campbell, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw. You got Aiden Hutchinson, not even yet in his prime. You got Brian Branch, who Chris Spielman with his own legitimate evaluation. Guys, I think I sound smarter with the more beer I drink. Think about it, that if you build a defense to match what Goff can do with this offense, let's go undefeated. Why not? 17 games in a row, win the Super Bowl, get up there, celebrate, and wash away the stench of the nastiest football we've ever seen. Listen, and listen, it's hyperbole. It's fun talk on a Wednesday. But what I'm saying is, if the defense can just go from 19th to 10th, man, there's a legitimate chance you win the Super Bowl and win a lot of games. So cheers to that. Please let this defense shine. If they continue this upward climb, this football team can do epic things.
17-0, Doc. I love it.
I will. Hold
cheers,
on.
17, baby.
I'm all for the positivity. I'm all for the beer talk. I love it. But here's the reality. Can I give you this? I wanted to Google last team to have a top 5 offense and defense because I was curious. It was the 2017 Eagles, top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense. They were 13-3, but it doesn't matter. They're going to be 17-0. I'm with you. Fuck all the data.
So if the Lions go undefeated, you know where you heard it first. But again, I prefaced it 6 times. I'm drinking. I'm having a good time. And I'm just looking at dream scenarios, but just imagine in all seriousness, if this defense can step it up, it takes so much pressure off of Jared Goff. They don't have to score 30 points a game. They can just score 20. First team to 20 wins. And I think that Aaron Glenn is as competitive, just from reading him, the way he talks, the way in which he exudes wanting this defense to play at a high level, violently, aggressively. If this defense now has the talent, if they can live up to the execution of what they need to do in terms of the scheme, guys, we could have a fun season with violent hits, interceptions, and just a lot of fun things that can happen. So I'm excited. Like I said, I come from a defensive perspective. I've given up to the fact that if I ever had a football career, I'd want to be a defensive coordinator. I'd want to stop opponents. I'd want to match up against opponents like Jameson Williams and Jared Goff and talk a bunch of shit when my guys sacked them. It's violent. That's the best part of the game, is hitting the other dudes and making them stop. So would be my dream, would be to be a defensive coordinator. That'd be amazing.
Doc, you'd have a number one defense, but
number one defense.
I think Doc would get the fellas. He would get them fired up. I'll say that.
All right, Coach. Coach promised if they go undefeated, I'm getting a free case of beer. So everyone in the chat, I think you should agree, because it's that bold. Everyone in the chat should throw one Doc's way as well, because ain't nobody talking crazy like that on air.
No, Doc, and you just got done preaching about this defense, and I think the most important job for them, at least team-wise, is stopping Jordan Love. So I have a couple questions for you, kind of two-parter. One, what do you think about the Jordan Love extension that he just signed in Green Bay? And two, you just got done talking about the secondary and all the moves that have been made to this defense. How do you see them matching up specifically with the Packers personnel? Do you think it's going to be one that gives them trouble, or do you think they'll be able to handle their own?
Yeah, no doubt, man. It was real interesting. You know, I should have wrote a story on it, but it was the end of the month and there was so much going on. We're writing 10 stories a day at Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. But the NFL players voted Jordan Love higher than Jared Goff. I think that's crazy. Look, he's more athletic. I think that he's got the ability to extend plays. But when you look at totality, I think Jared Goff's better than Jordan Love. I think that he's got far more experience. Dan Campbell said today on SiriusXM that he's thinking that Goff's close to being like Drew Brees in terms of being a wizard, of seeing the defense and understanding what he needs to do 3 steps ahead. And guys, look, when you hear about the struggles offensively, it's because the Lions defense is playing well. But if iron sharpens iron and the Lions offense can take that next step, then you recognize, look, Jared Goff is playing at a high level. Jordan Love, look, he's got a lot of weapons, got a great offensive mind for a coach, but just like any quarterback, you reduce the time that he has to throw, it's going to be problems. And I think that for the Detroit Lions, that's why the key is the defensive line, Aiden Hutchinson. If Aiden can get to 15 sacks, he'll make Jordan Love's life a nightmare. He'll put his ass on the ground. He'll take him out of the game. And I always vote that, look, a young quarterback that has talent, look, that's fine. He's got talent. He's got weapons. I love Reed. Clearly, the green support that I will always give to former Spartans is great. I love what he's doing, but I'll look at it like this. I would bet highly the Lions are going to be back-to-back division champions. I think that they were offended that they lost to Green Bay on Thanksgiving. I think that when you hear Amon-Ra saying he hates the Packers fans, Jordan Love is good. I think he's going to have a good season, but to get that much money that he got for one season, it's kind of reeks of desperation. And I think that hopefully the Lions will show for many years to come that they made the right investment in Jared Goff.
Doc, I want to ask you, this is my annual backup quarterback question. Okay. And I got to have an honest conversation with you, Doc, because, Hendon Hooker, OTA's minicamp, doesn't seem like he's ready. Pads come on. Training camp, doesn't seem like he's ready. I said this week 1 right now, I would lean towards either adding somebody or going Nate Sudfeld. I don't think Hendon Hooker will be ready week 1. I don't think he's a complete just bum and he can't play. I just don't think he'll be up to speed by then. I think it's still going to go into the season. There's still things he has to iron out. But your takeaways from Hendon Hooker and kind of his progression up until this point.
Oh, my takeaways from Hendon Hooker. See how much is left? Oh, let's drink up. Oh, man.
This is how you know Doc's about to go off. Yeah,
Oh,
just
man.
take a swig. Yep.
Hendon's been brutal. It's been tough. You guys saw. I mean, did you guys watch today in walkthroughs? He got a pass. It's very rare that you see a tip pass in walkthroughs.
Oh no!
You guys saw it. I mean, I was sitting there. I was talking to another reporter. You're sitting there and you throw the ball and it gets tipped in a walkthrough. The walkthrough is designed for the guys wide open and you just throw it to him. Hendon was struggling with the snap. He was struggling a little bit. Oh my God. It's tough. Look, he's a true rookie. Can't be disrespectful, but he's not ready. He's not QB2. If Christian writes a depth chart and he has Hendon Hooker, he's going to be out of a job. Nate Sudfeld's the backup. Unless, sometimes in the very rare instances that guys are just shitty practice players and they go out on the field when the lights are on and they just ball out. Hendon is in for a rough preseason because the game's faster. NFL speed is totally different. He's got to make a lot of reads. And Ben Johnson is not waiting around for this guy to develop. Like, it's like go. Even in the walkthrough, they were pushing tempo. Like, let's go. Make your read, throw the football. And he gets a little bit, holds on to the football a little bit too long. Look, it's just a situation in which this offense is not for developing players at this point. Nate Sudfeld is the better quarterback as we talk today. He's got more command. Look, either or, if Nate Sudfeld or Hendon Hooker are playing quarterback at some point in the regular season, something went terribly wrong with injury and something like that. So you don't want to bank on any of them. You look at it like Hendon's got to develop, and it's small goals. Like, okay, run the tempo, get to the line, call the right play, get to it and execute. And he's got to do it on a more consistent basis. And look, this is kind of how rookies look. The light hasn't come on yet. It's brutal. It's tough to watch. It sucks because you kind of thought that, okay, a lot of people upsell mental reps and things like that. You spent a year with Teddy Bridgewater. You spent a year with Jared Goff. What were you doing? So, but he wasn't on the field. He was the scout team quarterback. So there's a lot of things that are different. Now, look, this is also a testament to the defense. They're not fucking around. They don't care about Hendon Hooker. They want to intercept the ball. They want to pop the other side of the ball. So at this point in time, Hendon Hooker is a developing quarterback. He's the number 3. And until he starts showcasing consistency, he threw the ball to a couple guys yesterday. The interception that he had to Ennis Rakestraw, I didn't see it live. I was chit-chatting with Easy in his Crocs. I was laughing hysterically. I almost fell down laughing, so I missed a rep. But the rep that I missed, I also got to see Herman Moore out there. And I always just, when you see Herman Moore out there, it just harkens memories of the 91 season, him high-pointing balls. So I got starstruck and just stopped watching football and just talking to Easy.
That's fair.
Just talking to Easy in his Crocs, just laughing. I missed the Ennis Rakestraw's big play live. But from everyone that I talked to, they said that it was just a shitty throw. And it's just not – look, it's going to happen. Look, I'll say this. In terms of development, you look at it like you want him to make the mistakes now. And Ennis Rakestraw talked to me about this when he talked to me about daily progression and things like that. He said, look, you want to make mistakes so that you can go on film and learn from it. So early on, it doesn't seem yet that the magic has clicked in for Hendon Hooker. I think it will. I think he's got the talent. You could see at times flashes of a big arm. You can see his quick mobility. But life in the NFL is fast. These guys are not impressed with Hendon Hooker's stats. They don't care. The defense wants to embarrass Hendon Hooker. And so far, I don't think you need to make a move. I just think that you just would roll with Nate Sudfeld and Hendon Hooker as the 3. And you keep it moving. And it's just unfortunate right now because I don't like writing number 2 is struggling at this point in time, but that's the facts. That's the facts as we sit right now. Hendon Hooker is 3rd on the depth chart.
Oof. It's tough, Jeff. I didn't mean for that. Oof. That was not meant. That was not meant to be.
You guys saw it. Who gets a pass tipped in a walkthrough?
Yeah, I mean, John, I got none for you. I got
there was a crowd of people who thought that Hendon Hooker was going to be starting week 1 over Jared Goff. Let's not extend Goff. Let's start Hendon Hooker. Let's move on from that. There was that crowd that came at me a little bit when I said let's back off the Hendon Hooker thing. But that's just I can go back and get receipts. But annual question for me as well here weekly for you, Doc. I know you guys are putting out your guys' depth chart tomorrow, it sounds like August 1st. Who is someone that the people and the fans can be kind of keeping an eye out here, at least for you as of right now, in training camp, that's a potential cut candidate that you think might be on the edge, or let's say that you feel like, hey, he can be cut. Is there a specific guy or two that's on that line there? Man,
it's tough. Yeah, look, the competition's tight. You look at the defense and you see a lot of competition. I'm curious to see in regards to, the battle with Stephen Gilmore. Does Stephen Gilmore take the next step forward in his progression? He's making plays. He's popping. So I think that he's going to find a way at least to the practice squad here. In terms of cut candidates, who's somebody that is struggling? Look, you have to look to the wide receivers. I think Antoine Green and DPJ, not that they're going to be cut, they got to do more. They're not consistently popping in terms of making plays in regards to, hey, consistently showing progression. So I would not be surprised if one of those two is not on this roster, especially if Fountain continues to shine at a high level. So the preseason, look, I think we'll revisit this after the first preseason game because, practice starts and this is still the acclimation phase. After a game, you get an opportunity to see how these guys perform when the lights are the brightest. But I think Antoine Green and DPJ are not showing enough to warrant their spot at wide receiver 3 and 4. You look at it and you say, okay, Khalif Raymond, he's the return guy. He's definitely consistent. Down on the depth chart, you need guys that are going to contribute at a high level. So you need those wide receivers to play at a high level. So on offense, look at the wide receivers. On defense, I think that's interesting. I think James Houston's done enough. He's developing. He's got the skill that everybody wants. So I don't think he's lower. I think that he's doing the thing that he needs to do. I just think that the camp battles that you're seeing kind of have a way of establishing themselves. Maybe a CJ Moore. So I know they love him on special teams, so that makes him a prime candidate to stick around. But you got a lot of safeties. I think Brandon Joseph is battling for a job with CJ, and I think special teams will have an opportunity. So one of those two guys probably will end up on the practice squad. So you look at it and you say a lot of nice battles to watch, and maybe another one. You know what? A name that kind of is a name you got to watch that needs to step it up. I've had, if you look at Detroit Lions on SI, we kind of talk about who's playing well, but we also have a couple of headers that I have that say who needs to step it up. So I've had clearly that DPJ, Antoine Green need to step it up, but a player that you're not writing his name in the book all that much is number 82, James Mitchell. I think Zylstra is a better blocker. I think Brock Wright is consistent. Dan Campbell, when he was asked, hey, who's shining? He said Parker Hesse. So you look at it and you say, you're not hearing a lot of James Mitchell. He's got a big frame and he seems athletic, but I just kind of feel like in talking with people, he's kind of plateaued. Like you get what you get, but you're not seeing the steady progression. So if James Mitchell is not on this roster, I would not be surprised.
Klotz and I actually talked about that when we were watching practice today. We were talking tight ends, and he was like, is James Mitchell even out there?
Doing it? Yeah, it's like he's there. He has good skills, but you're not seeing him pop. Like you're in a competition for your life, and you're getting production okay, but there's been times where he's had miscommunication in reps, and I just think he needs to do more. It's time. Like the lights are on. Let's go. It's time to show what you're about, because right now it kind of feels like it's Laporta, Brock Wright, and Shane Zylstra as the front runners.
And kind of another competition, a guy that I think is really going to be fighting for a spot on this team long term, and you have a little bit of history with, is Derek Barnes, Doc, because we see a lot of James Houston rotating in there at Sam, but you can just tell it's not the natural fit. How is Derek Barnes coming along as far as improvement this year, and how much do you think we're going to see him on the field compared to last season?
Yeah, no doubt. Real fast. Can you believe Easy said that the Falcons are going to wash the Lions because of Ritter and Bijan?
It's crazy.
Get that on air? My God, how can somebody with that much credibility say something like that? I heard it. No, I
heard it too. I heard it as well.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't hear it, but now I think I did hear it.
I think I heard it. I think Easy said some wild ass shit like that. I think he remember he took a gummy, put on his Crocs, and started talking shit into his podcast. So it happens. you drink, you say things, and you remember like, Doc, did you say that the team's going to go undefeated? No, the fuck, I didn't say that. Oh, yeah, you did. We got video of it. Oh, shit, yeah, I did say it. But here's why. So, what was the question again? I apologize.
Derek Barnes, Doc.
Derek Barnes. Yeah. Man, I love Derek Barnes. And I'm going to tell you why. The man is pissed. Clearly, everyone's talking about Jack Campbell, second-year rise of Jack Campbell. This guy is going to dominate. This guy's going to take over. Wait a minute. If you're Derek Barnes, you're like, wait a minute. I made a play in the postseason. Yeah, I made an epic mistake that got me really looked at in the negative light, but he took it the best way possible. And I like guys like that. Derek Barnes, I think, is a guy that started off with a certain skill set. He's built his game, and I think he's working towards being an emotional leader. The man is violently aggressive. He wants to be in the mix. He wants to be a guy that's known to be a leader. And I think that, sometimes when a bad play happens, you got to assess how a person responds to it. That Dak Prescott play really got him lit up online. Like everybody, like when Alex showed him the video I posted on Twitter, Derek didn't get mad. Derek, we talked man to man, and he was just like, what'd you post and why'd you post it? And we talked man to man. And I just said, look, I have a entertaining site. I was posting about hoping that the next time you have a chance to make a play, I hope that you make it. And he did. And when he did, I credited him. I said, hey, I'm glad you had the chance to make the play. So just as much as you talk about someone's play that they didn't make, you have to highlight the plays that they did make. And he got an interception in training camp. I think that the talk of him getting his reps taken away from Jack Campbell has pissed him off, and he's ready to get to work, and he's ready to show that, hey, I'm not going to give up my linebacker spot just that quickly. And I do think that he's going to have a breakout year. I think he's going to play well. I think that when your best friend and guys, here's the crazy part. I wish they would have showcased the video on the Lions site. They have this brawl. All of a sudden you see this blonde-haired dude just flying into it, and it's Alex Anzalone. I mean, I'm talking about Alex doesn't seem to be a guy that's all that fast. That man looked like he had 4.1 speed trying to get into that scrum, trying to save his boy from Dan Skipper, and he flew into that scrum, and they're tight. Like, they're super tight. And Alex will defend Derek against anybody, even a podcaster, a writer. He'll defend his guy again. And you love to see that. There's a tight camaraderie between Derek Barnes and Alex Anzalone. And I see it. You can see the emergence of a leader. Derek Barnes has that factor where he's been burned, but he took it and he used it to make himself a better player. I think he's going to bring the pressure. I think you're going to see interceptions. I think you're going to see him run down freely, make some tackles. I see a breakout year for Derek Barnes. And I'm not just saying that because Alex threatened to whoop my ass, but no, I'm kidding. He didn't threaten to whoop my ass.
Imagine that headline the next morning. Alex Anzalone.
He didn't literally say, I'm going to whoop your ass, but he did stand right in my face and say, why did you post that? And I had to look at him right in the face and say, because. So I love linebackers with that spirit. Let's go whoop some ass. And I think that's the way it's got to be.
I love it. John, we appreciate you so much. It's always a blast. We'll catch you out there tomorrow. Oh, hey, we'll have pads on. So hey, we'll have more to look forward to. But keep up the great work. Check out John's stuff. Link will be in the description for all. Not only the website, which content will be all over, but also the podcast. Go give his podcast a listen. But John, we'll talk to you next Wednesday, my man. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate it, guys. I think you can see I took on the challenge head on. I think it was a good week of reporting from Detroit Lions on SI. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me. I definitely will give a nod and make sure you guys keep doing what you do. Your assessments are spot on. Your takes are great. And we just got to make sure that Easy in the chat has got to stop going on camera and saying that Jared Goff can't wash Jordan Love's balls. That's not right. That's not safe. That's not. I mean, I know there's Jordan Love appreciation, but to say that Jared Goff can't sniff Jordan Love's jockstrap on air in front of millions of people on your show, you got to tone that down, okay? Jared Goff, listen, I know he's not the most speedy guy, but you got to have more respect for people. You got to have more respect for people, Easy. I love you guys. Let's talk soon.